Hi, I'm Karuna. I'm the founder and executive director for Mind Oasis, and I'm here with the beautiful Lauren Hubele as my guest. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Karuna, thanks for having me today.
You bet. So this is what we call meditation happy hour, tea, talk, and truth with Karuna, and I hope that we get to all three of those elements. I have to admit, today I have sparkling water, not tea.
Mm,
But Lauren, you're joining us from San Marcos, Texas, yes?
I am. Yeah.
But that's not where you always live.
No, I lived in Austin for 12 years before that. And then I lived in Europe for 12 years before that.
Oh, very multinational. So the way that I like to start these, I don't know, these tea talk and truths is by asking you what your day has looked like so far today.
Oh, sweet. So my day always begins with meditation and writing and tea. So there you go.
There's the tea. I knew we'd get there.
Absolutely. And it's all part of the program. And then I would, under normal circumstances, Karuna, go swim in the San Marcos River, which I do every single day with my husband. But because all of our parks are closed right now, we have no access to that river. So we have a really sweet canyon I walk in, and we do that daily. And then my day has been taken up with restructuring some curriculum for a new series of classes I'm putting on.
Very cool. So let's go there. Let's talk a little bit. Here's your most recent book, and it's Gemmotherapy, right? Am I saying that right?
You are saying that right. Yeah.
Okay. Whew. First test passed. So Lauren, tell us a little bit about Gemmotherapy and also maybe Gemmotherapy and the world we find ourselves living in, because most of us don't know what it is. And I think it has this amazing applicability and timeliness. So let's just get right into it.
Sure. Well, first of all, it has nothing to do with gemstones. So let's be really clear there. Gem comes from the Latin word gemme, which is the bud of a plant. And these are extracts that have been made from the part of the particular tree or plant that has the highest concentration of meristem cells. And meristem cells, Karuna, are very similar to stem cells. And they are the only cells that we can reproduce, regenerate, new growth. And so those are the extracts that are what Gemmotherapy is all about.
How on earth did you discover Gemmotherapy?
Right.
And I think you're kind of like the expert Gemmotherapist. So, I mean, just tell us a little bit more about the story. What's the story behind Gemmotherapy?
Yeah. Well, to make it short, because it could go long, right? The short version is, Karuna, I had cancer when I was 4 months pregnant with my son, Sebastian. And he's my third child. And I was in Heidelberg, Germany at the time and was fortunately given some options. This is the same cancer that my mother died from when she was 25. It's melanoma cancer. And so I was given the option. I could have had an abortion and done traditional treatment, but instead I worked with a MD physician who was at the university clinic, but who worked with homeopathy and plant extracts, some Gemmotherapy. I really wasn't into what she was doing because all I wanted was to get better, right? And so just do your thing, and make me better was my mindset at the time. But fast forward 8 years later, my cancer returned. And at that point, I had a wake-up call, like, maybe we didn't do that completely right. Maybe I didn't do my part and learn more about this process and what this is all about. And so part of my process really, Karuna, was to go back to what had been used for me and start studying it. And I had already studied homeopathy. I had not had a practice. I was a high school teacher. I was a high school teacher and in education for 20 years. So when I started looking at these, then I got very intrigued. And it still was a slow process to move from, gee, that's really an interesting thing, to, hey, I want to do this 24/7 and dedicate my life to it.
Yeah. So, is Gemmotherapy actually a sort of regimen where you're taking supplements, or what all is involved in the process? And my understanding is, at the end of the day, one uses this type of therapy to boost your immune system. Is that right?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yes. So, Karuna, these extracts originated with allopathic conventional doctors in Belgium. And so in Europe, there is a very allopathic approach to applying them. You have high blood pressure, so you take these 3 extracts, and they're given very much like a prescription would be, in place of a medication. And they're used widely in particular areas in Europe. But as I began to integrate them into my practice, I felt that we weren't using the extracts to their potential. And so I began studying ways they could be used systematically. And actually, instead of going after symptoms, we restore immunity at its root. And then our immune system takes care of healing all the symptoms our body's expressing. And so that's exactly the work I do with it, and why my approach and my books and my teachings are unique, because of that channel to move towards restoring immunity rather than just solving a problem. So no, there aren't supplements involved or other things. I encourage a plant-based diet. These are plants communicating with your body, and what better support for those is more plants in your diet.
Right. Got it. Got it. And so then are they, is it you're taking liquids? Has the different, yeah, show us. Awesome.
So they're extracts, and we're all familiar with herbal extracts. Everyone see, you can buy them at Whole Foods. But what puts these apart is that meristem cell. They're the only type of botanical medicine today that uses meristem cells. So, and that's because of the part of plant that's collected fresh and applied into the extract. So people are taking them once, twice, 3 times a day, working on different systems. And I have an approach that works with the way in which your body heals, because your body heals in an order. And we have to begin in the beginning, which is, how does your body and your systems communicate with each other? So we begin with the nervous system.
Whoa. One of these days, you and my husband, Joseph, will have to get together and talk all about the nervous system, because that's where he feels everything starts all the time.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So tell me, in this kind of strange times we find ourselves in, there's a lot of folks who have a practice, a meditation practice, a mindfulness practice, yogic practice, a spiritual practice, all sorts of different practices. But there's also a lot of folks who don't. And we have a ongoing series on Mind Oasis right now that's really, I think it's entitled Mind Body Practices for Resiliency During the Time of Coronavirus. And what I found very interesting is there's more than one person in that series with pretty severe, severely compromised immune systems. So I have a couple of questions. One is, why isn't Gemmotherapy more widely used if it sounds like it can only be of benefit? That's one question. And then my other question is, for those of us who just don't really have a practice and we find ourselves sort of all wound up from what's going on, what are your words of wisdom around Gemmotherapy or otherwise?
Wow. Okay. So, Karuna, that's a really good question. Why isn't it more widely spread? You know, this involves some lifestyle changes, and we may be, in fact, entering that time where people are willing to do that to improve their health. But just taking drops from a bottle isn't going to be enough. We have to change how we live, and we have to get to know ourselves, and that's so important. When I work with clients, one of the first things that becomes so clear is the lack of awareness and connection to their self. And so we may have this belief, oh, my body can heal itself, or I can heal itself, but we have to know who self is to even begin that process. And I'm probably going off a little bit, but this is exactly why I believe meditation is such a huge part of this process. Meditation and mindfulness practices that bring us to ourselves and improve our awareness of not of only who we are, but then accepting all all that shows up, right?
Yeah, not always easy to do. Easy in theory, I think, right? We kind of get there as practitioners, but then it takes a long, hard look, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Karuna, I want to say something because you said in this time of coronavirus, and I think we need to stop and drop that term in
Oh,
time of, it's in this time because it's going to be another virus, it's going to be another situation.
sure.
And it is so important that we wake up and realize, and this is the time of awakening, right? We're in this age of not giving our power away anymore, like taking it back and realizing my health is mine, and my how I educate myself and my spirituality, these belong to me, right? And we're moving into this new age, and taking responsibility for your health and your immune system is vital. We must do that to move forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you got to the aspect of you have to know thy own self, because one of the wonderful new offerings you have on your plate is on Mind Oasis, and I believe you called it Meet Your Inner Healer. And when you and I spoke about it, we can talk about the details in a minute, but when we spoke about the series in and of itself, um, you talked about how we oftentimes sort of know what we don't believe in, but there's another part. So I'd love for you to kind of delve into that just a little bit.
Yeah, it's knowing what you do believe and really owning it. And in this course, that's what we're going to explore. And we're going to explore what you really know and why you really know it, what got you there. And we all can think of something that I absolutely believe this to be true, no matter what the news tells me, or my neighbor, or my mother-in-law, right? This is true. But then there's these things that are like, I'm not so sure. Or you might believe it, but the minute someone questions it, you crumble, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so as we move into this age of taking responsibility for ourselves, owning what we believe in and becoming solid and building that core is going to be vital. And this is what this class will do. We'll explore those. What are those things you're kind of about, and why? Why is that so? And catch up and update your belief system, because you may be walking around with beliefs you think you have, and boy howdy, in the last 90 days, 60 days, right, those might have reorganized.
You bet. And there's something also here I don't think we have spoken about before, but it's kind of occurring to me that um, there's something around building resiliency that I've been, it'll come out in bigger ways in weeks to come and in discussions to come. But whenever we're faced with difficulties, resiliency is really an important aspect of our lives. Those of us who have experienced loss, particularly young, particularly big, which I have, the first time it happens, there's really no resiliency because you've been a child and you've been raised and you've been told what to believe. And then, the second time you have kind of a tragedy happen, then there begins to have the resiliency. And for me, you at least know better days are coming. That's a phrase that my great grandma used to use that I thought was really beautiful. But you start to understand what that means, that even when things are very difficult, something will shift. If nothing else, your relationship to whatever is terrible. And so it's interesting to me that when we first started talking about you coming on as an author, I think it's next Thursday, hopefully the 27th, I think I have the date right, that you're our author and you'll have your book and you'll be talking about Gemmotherapy some more and about your own journey. It didn't occur to me that when you fuse your immune system and meditation and your belief system, which we could also call spirituality, we can frame it in different ways that work for our own belief systems, that in a sense, you're looking at the resiliency of your mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, Karuna, I love that. And I love that I use this word resiliency a lot in my teaching. And I use it in this way when people think about health and they say, what is health? Health isn't not getting sick. That's not health. Health is your resiliency. It's your ability to recover, right? In spite of whatever comes at. And so that doesn't mean emotional event doesn't happen and you don't end up in a puddle of tears, but you can pick yourself back up and you know where to go from there. Yeah. And I work a lot with another term I think you would find interesting. It's called emotional inflammation. And we talk about emotional immunity, which emotional immunity and physical immunity are of the same cloth, right? And with physical immunity, our body is constantly making a decision. Pathogen, are you going to support me and make me stronger? And I'm going to invite you in, or do I need to neutralize you and send you on and eliminate you and send you on your way? Well, we do the same thing all day with experiences, things people say, right? Someone says something on the phone. Oh, I'm not going to let that in. No, thanks. I don't need it. But maybe someone offers some supportive criticism that would actually help make you a better person. And so you choose to let that in. Mm-hmm. And so we're constantly in this negotiation. But, just as I'm talking about this, and you have to be present for that negotiation to be successflike. And that's where we go right back to a meditation practice.
Lovely. And then talk just a little bit about your background. Who'd you learn from? Who are you teaching? What are you, the lineage of any sort?
The lineage of Gemmotherapy is pretty amazing. So when I really wanted to learn, it was in all different languages, and there certainly wasn't anyone in America teaching it. So I began studying with a Romanian doctor, actually, and Karuna, between the two of us, I had to look up where Romania was on the map.
It's been known to happen. Trust me, I've had to look up some embarrassing countries before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I not know that?
I lived in Europe, and in my mind, I thought it was, it's got to be really close to Germany. So when I had told my husband I had agreed to go do an internship there, he said, Do you realize how far Romania is? But anyway, it was one of the greatest things that ever happened. And I fell in love with the country at the same time. So gosh, that was probably 8 years ago. And I studied in my dear friend Serena, Dr. Suescu's practice, and learned directly her application of it. But before that, I had taken courses from a teacher in England. I've studied with the Italian doctor, Dr. Fernando Patera, who has dedicated his whole life to gemmotherapy in a very allopathic sense. This last summer, I met the Belgium guru of gemmotherapy, Philippe Adrian, and walked through his vineyards of black currant plants that he was getting ready to pick for extracts. So I've had wonderful opportunities to meet with people that are key leaders in Europe and take what makes sense to me and what I can apply and integrate it into my own approach. I teach online. I also live part of my year in Foix, France, and I offer workshops and small group coaching there for women. And we have a company that imports extracts from Europe. So
good. I was going to get there. I was going to ask about how you get your extracts, and then can people buy them without being advised what the hell they're buying, or do you not do that?
No, because I've written several books and I also do podcasts and I have blog posts. So gemmotherapy is really accessible. And when we're working with acute situations, it's really out of the box. Like, you have a cold, do this. You have the flu, do this. When we're trying to restore someone's immunity, this is when taking a course, working with a practitioner, that's going to need to come into play.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what is your company and how do people find you?
My company is Gemmotherapy with Lauren Hubele. I have a website, laurenhubele.com. And I would really love for people to find my podcasts that are under the title of Restoring Immunity. And you can find them on iTunes or Spotify or Google Podcasts. And there you can learn so much about your own body's immunity and ways you can support it, especially right now.
Wonderful. And so I don't know if we got to the gem. Any gem advice? I mean, what are you telling people to engage? Maybe not in these times, but now, what do we need as individuals and as collective humanity in this time of change?
I think I have to go right back to getting to know yourself.
Okay.
Checking in and get to know who you are and what you believe. Because if you're going to set down a path of growth, you have to know who you're traveling with.
Yeah, I love that. And so in your course, Meet Your Inner Healer, which it looks like it starts on the 6th of May, it sounds like that's what you'll be exploring. I think it's a 4-week.
You know what? Absolutely, Karuna. And I'm going to take you step by step. So it's a wonderful opportunity for anyone that looks at it and says, what is she doing? And I would say, come on, it's a safe space to come and learn together.
I love it. And to explore who it is you're traveling down this next phase of the road with. And maybe who's you're ready to let go of, and who you're ready to pick up along the way too.
Exactly.
It's a really potent time, I think, for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. And then on the 27th, which is next Thursday, you'll be joining us as our featured Meet the Author, and we'll be talking about all sorts of wonderful things then as well.
Beautiful.
You have more than one book, you have your podcasts, and we can find all of that at your website, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for joining me. I think we got to the truth. I think we got to the talk, and we definitely got to the tea, because that's how you start out your day.
Absolutely. Great.
Oh, Lauren, before you go, your son, Sebastian, was born. You're cancer-free. You have a family, and you have a partner, and you have a home. Dogs?
We yes, Lucy, our Great Pyrenees, Ruby, the calico cat, and I have 2 grown daughters as well. So and son-in-law. So yes, all of us.
Life is full. Beautiful. Congratulations. Thank you again, Lauren.
Thank you.